This is the S1S Podcast, Episode 3.
The Stage 1 Startup Podcast is launching in T-minus 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, 0. Prepare for liftoff.
Welcome to the Stage 1 Startup Podcast for startups and aspiring entrepreneurs to find out what it takes to launch any business idea from stage 1 to success. Now, for your hosts, live from the UK, Nichols and Morley.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Stage 1 Startup Podcast, Episode 3. You are tuned in with your hosts, Bradley Morley and Greg Nichols. Greg, it's that famous question again. How excited are you feeling right now?
I love this question because every single week I just feel like I'm more buzzing than I was on the previous one. So I can't wait, mate. It's going to be epic.
I'm hugely inspired already, and we've not even started interviewing yet. This lady who Greg is about to give an intro on is truly impressive, and it's going to blow your mind and help you find your passion. Greg, tell us who today's special guest is.
Okay, so today on the show we have a lifestyle and entertainment entrepreneur. Now she's a little bit different to what we usually interview on the show, but we feel like this is great because it just allows so much more of a variety for our listeners. A little bit about her background is that she's a host, model and dancer, and has had the opportunity to live in some of the most amazing places around the world. She was accepted into UCLA, where she studied sociology and communication. But while she attended UCLA, she also trained in ballet, jazz, tap, hip hop, and pretty much everything. She trained at the prestigious Debbie Allen Dance Academy. After training, she went on to become a professional cheerleader in the NFL as a San Francisco 49ers Gold Rush cheerleader. Now, I've heard that is pretty much our equivalent to cheerleading for Chelsea Football Club, a team after my own heart.
It's very impressive. I mean, I think it's even more, to be honest, because the capacity they hold in that stadium is something like 70,000, which is extreme.
Definitely. Her vision right now is in the form of hosting a vlog called Dream Series TV, which aims to inspire billions to chase after their dreams to create the life they truly deserve. Her ultimate goal will be to take the vision of Dream Series TV and turn it into a daytime talk show. She has appeared on several lifestyle and reality shows such as Undercover Boss, as well as America's Best of California TV adventure show. After all of those successes, she's also worked as a lifestyle and print model and spokesmodel representing brands such as Paul Mitchell Hair Systems, J. Beverly Hills, and many more. To be honest, the list just goes on with our guest today, so I think it's best that we hear from the woman herself. Can we please welcome Dionna Chambers to the show? Hi Dionna, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm amazing.
Good. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's an amazing opportunity to talk about some really exciting and inspiring things today.
Brilliant. Okay.
Definitely. So, Dionna, obviously we've had a bit of an intro about yourself from Greg in the early part of this show, but if you could perhaps give us a bit more detail about yourself and who you are and a bit about your journey.
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Dionna Chambers. I am originally from San Diego, California, which is about 2 hours south of Los Angeles, and it's the closest city to Mexico, so it gives you some reference point. Like, you can literally go right across and be in Tijuana, which is Mexico. So I grew up partly in San Diego, but I've also lived in Kenya, in East Africa. I lived in Virginia on the East Coast, and in multiple cities here in California. My dad is a former FBI agent, so he's like pretty awesome.
And
very
scary
inspiring.
as well.
Yeah, FBI. Yeah, you definitely don't want to mess with him. So that allotted our family an opportunity to travel and live overseas as well. So I think that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, in terms of having like really big dreams and going after things that many people say are impossible. And so, after high school, I ended up graduating in San Diego from high school, or what you would call secondary school. I ended up getting accepted into UCLA, which was definitely awesome because we're the top school here in the U.S., but also around the world. It's a very known school. and studied sociology and communication. And I also am a dancer, a trained dancer. So I also studied ballet, jazz, lyrical, hip hop, African dance while I was going to UCLA as well. So
Brilliant.
it was a very busy time for me as a young person. And I also was simultaneously basically living in the Bay Area, which is San Francisco, because I was cheerleading and or dancing, you can call it either one, for the San Francisco 49ers, which is obviously a huge American football franchise here in the U.S. So that was like a great opportunity. I mean, that's like, if there were dancers for Chelsea or Arsenal, like that's like the level. Yeah, I think it's like the
you meant
level.
To say Manchester United because there's no Chelsea or
I
Arsenal
meant to say
supporters
Man
here.
U. I meant to say Man U. Exactly. Exactly. So, you know, I had that opportunity, and I was doing that. I was going schooling in the week, and the weekends I was up there, which is it's north of here, about 5 hours drive, hour flight. So I was very busy. And then after that, I realized, you know, after performing in front of 70,000 people, that I was capable of doing so much more. So
Anything.
that's
You're
how
capable of doing anything if you can perform in front of 70,000 people. Jesus.
That's extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should thank you for pointing that out. I should absolutely like leave more out of it. Like, it's like I'm completely capable of doing whatever I want to do. Exactly. And that's what I realized. And that's kind of when the entrepreneur bug, if you will, kind of became real, right? Like I think everyone is an entrepreneur. We can all be an entrepreneur, but I think it's up to you to choose that as a lifestyle. So in that moment, I think that is when I started to understand, like, I'm not like everybody else. Like, I'm not traditional in the sense, like, I don't desire to have a full-time job. Like, that's when I figured it out. So I fell into everything. You know, I was still, you know, I kind of walked away from dancing, fell into hosting or presenting, as is very common to use in Europe, obviously. And then I started doing some print jobs, and I got into acting class, and I was sort of figuring out what I wanted to focus on. And kind of fast forward, I've mainly been focusing on, and I've built a whole platform and a whole business with my skill set as a host. So that's where I'm at today. And then I'm also in a position now where I'm adding in acting and getting back into acting class as well. And I would say that I'm very passionate about that as well. But I'm a strong believer in focusing on one thing at a time, because I'm someone who likes to do everything.
Yeah.
And I've definitely crashed and burned many times, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to.
Yeah. How are you managing kind of juggling everything at once at the minute? Is it a struggle, or are you kind of coping rather well at the minute?
That's a great question. I think as an entrepreneur, even when you're quote unquote focusing, you are still juggling a lot of things at once. I think that's kind of unavoidable, because when you have a grand vision, there's going to be grand things that you get to do every single day to make the vision become a reality. So I would say it's definitely a challenge. I definitely would say I'm understanding how to do it more. Like, I'm understanding how to do it the best I can each day. And I'm learning new tools on how to actually do it, versus being defeated by it and, you know, like self-sabotaging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So what I do is, right now I'm actually in an amazing emotional intelligence program, which I'm in a leadership program right now where I have a mentor and I have a life coach. And I actually have created this awesome golden deadlines letter, that we call it, for 4 months. So because of this, actually finding this tool, I'm actually learning how to focus and only focus on hosting and presenting in that business and my blog, and then incorporating acting little by little. And I've actually written it out on a paper with deadlines and put it in my calendar. So I would say that's a very effective tool in being able to do multiple things.
That's awesome. I think, yeah, like going back to what you were just saying, I think we've all been there, and a lot of startups do go through that, when, you know, you've got so many ideas that you want to pursue, but you don't really know where to start, and you're trying to juggle a lot of things at once. And it might be that you're achieving success in part in every area, but not as much as you could potentially be doing if you was to focus on one particular thing. And I think
absolutely
for us, you know, it took us a while until we could find our perfect idea, which we decided to run with, that being the Stage One Startup and the podcast. Whereas I think some people have to experience different opportunities and different things until they stumble across the right thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So kind of to add to that is I did actually have an opportunity to work full-time for an amazing entrepreneur after UCLA. I got a job right away, decent pay for sure. I mean, more money than anyone else I was making at the time. And I was completely resisting it because, as I said, I knew before I graduated that I did not want a full-time job. But it was a great opportunity because he is a lot of what I would, am inspired to become. And he's an engineer and designer. He creates choreographed fountain sequences, like at the Bellagio, at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. They're all over the world. There are these fountains, the dancing fountains.
Mm-hmm.
That's the company. That's his company. He's like the main person. So like the biggest ones around the world are his stuff. I was his executive assistant for a year, and I learned a lot. And one thing he had me do was read books with him, which was awesome. And one of the books I read, and I'm blanking out on what book it was, but it was basically saying that there are two types of entrepreneurs. There's one entrepreneur that knows a little bit about a lot, and then the other entrepreneur is a person that is the master at something. And so I also think it's important to identify which one you are and accept it. You don't need to be in conflict with yourself about it. I think it's important to accept what you are. I'm someone who likes to do a lot of things. That's not going to change. That's who I am. What I get to do in my challenges daily, as I mentioned, is figuring out a way to do it in an effective way so that the things I'm doing are masterpieces. So just because I'm doing multiple things doesn't mean that the quality is sacrificed. And that's my journey, being someone who has multiple talents.
That's amazing. I think, and to have that opportunity staring, right in front of you, and to like you said, you still had it in you as much as it was probably hard to not take up the opportunity. You still had the voice inside you saying that you're built to be an entrepreneur. You need to be doing this, making your own path. And I think that's something that's going to be obviously hard for a lot of people to turn away from.
Yeah, and I think, I actually saw one of your guys' questions about, like, do you think it's important to get a job while you're pursuing your dreams? And I absolutely think if it's not a full-time 9-to-5 job, that I think you should have a job and be working in a place that's inspirational. Because I have to be honest, if I didn't work for Mark that first year out of college, I don't know if I would look at business the same way. Like, he really shaped the way that I look at business and the way I look at being an entrepreneur. Like, so much. I can't even emphasize that enough. It was a quality 10 months that I worked there. It was a quality 10 months. And I think it's so critical that you work under or with someone who is further along than you.
So, Dionna, would you consider Mark your mentor at the time?
At the time, absolutely.
And would you consider that important for most startups and aspiring entrepreneurs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're getting that a lot with the other entrepreneurs that we're interviewing at the minute. Every single one of them says, mentors are most definitely essential to any kind of journey that you're going on when you've had that entrepreneur bug.
Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 times you need a mentor. Definitely. And I live in LA, so this is a big place on like life coaches and counselors. And I would also argue that you having a life coach or someone who can or a career coach, however you want to call it, the titles don't mean anything. Someone who can also help keep you accountable for the things you say that you're going to do, not only in your business, but in your life. Because guess what? You can be a billionaire and completely not have a personal life and be unhealthy and be on the verge of death because you don't take care of yourself because you made money the priority. So I absolutely think it's about balance. If you want to be someone who's respected and truly looked up to you, it's important that you create balance in your entire life, not just your business.
That's brilliant. Just by speaking to you in the first 10 minutes, I'm hugely inspired. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing this. I'm inspired that you're doing the show and you're so organized. I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by you guys being able to focus and follow through, which is something that I get to work on every day with what I do.
I think it's also good as well that sometimes we're likely to get startups and entrepreneurs that are very forward in everything they say, and sometimes they may just be very to the point and talk about the subject more than the actual passion behind it. And I think you're obviously a very passion-based entrepreneur, which is which is good because, you know, it's helped you sort of create your direction as to where you want to go in life. And is that probably your biggest takeaway from having a mentor, that it's helped you find direction over everything? You know, some people recommend getting a mentor just to actually gain skills. Some people get them for the reasons that you said, that it actually just helps you change the way you're looking at life and the journey as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think like right now, the life coach I have right now, like we speak probably 3 to 4 times a week, and I'll literally just call him and be like, hey, here's what's happening. I create a deadline to complete this list that I'm creating for leads in my business, for example. But I'm finding that the number I created is very high and I'm having a breakdown. Like, how do I complete this? And literally we'll spend 10 minutes, come up with a new plan, and then I do the new plan. So even if it's something as simple as that, like I'm having a breakdown in communication with my partner, you know, my business partner, or whatever it may be. I think even for small things, I think having that person, it can completely reshape your day and put you on track versus you going around in circles for an hour trying to figure out a solution.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now then, everybody, we are going to dive into the question round. So basically, for anybody that doesn't know what the question round is where we ask our guest to answer a variety of questions that we have specifically curated for our listeners. Brad, do you want to hit us off with the first question? Dionna, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so Dionna, obviously now everybody's got an idea of what you do and what you have done in your experiences. So we want to talk more on the whole going into the TV side of entertainment, side of lifestyle sector, and the whole becoming a host on, you know, your own pilot show. So could you take us back to the moment you pinpointed this as your idea, to actually run with over everything else, like your other passions, your dancing and all sorts?
I knew early on that I wanted my own talk show. Once I identified that hosting was something I was good at and that I was naturally good at before I even started training, something I think was in there immediately that was like, you're going to be the next quote unquote Oprah, but obviously I'm Dionna Chambers, so I get to create my own path. And I realized early on that I've been given a talent, it's a gift, and it's a blessing, right? It's not like automatic. You don't automatically get, you know, like automatically become anything. I think there's something put in you from a spiritual sense that like, it's like a blessing or a gift. And so once that was put upon me and I was able to actually realize it, shortly after I decided I wanted my own talk show. Like it was immediate. I knew that was what I was going to be.
That's awesome. And I think because the biggest takeaway from that is that, you know, there's some people that portray the whole, you know, you don't have to specifically have a talent or a skill or something that you're destined to be doing. You can just hustle your way and work hard at it. But I think, like you said, you've obviously been born with and blessed with this great talent. It'd be stupid not to run with it, right?
I chose to run with it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, as in like it would be stupid not to go for this. I mean, it's obviously a passion.
And so here's the thing too, to go back to what you said. I wouldn't say that I'm amazing at everything, right? There are certain things that I want to do that I don't necessarily have the skill set in yet, but I definitely believe that everyone has talent. Like I definitely don't believe that nobody is like talentless. That's not true. Everybody has a talent, and it's up to them to identify the talent, find the talent, whatever that is, and decide if they want to pursue the talent. Everyone has a talent, whether it's being a good listener, whether it's creating inventions, whether it's writing, whether it's whatever. But you're great with numbers, automatically your talent's at numbers. Everyone has a talent. It's just up to you if you want to utilize it or not and serve the world with it.
That's brilliant. I think I agree to that extent, but I'm going to throw in something into the mix here. So what would you advise someone that maybe has a talent in a certain area of business or passion, but they're not actually, it's not something that they really want to go into. They want to maybe try something else that maybe they haven't got the talent in as such, but they're willing to work hard at it. What would your sort of thoughts be on that?
Well, it's important to identify what you want in life. Sometimes the talent you have isn't in alignment with what you really desire in your life. And I think that's where I would start. Maybe there's a woman, for example, who her desire and her dream really is to meet the man of her dreams or the woman of her dreams, depending on her sexual orientation, of course, and have 2 kids and live in a $1 million home, and she wants to stay at home and be a full-time mom and support her husband, or the other way around. Maybe it's a man that wants that. But let's say she's really good, a great violinist, and she can play and she's a musician, but she just doesn't want to make money that way. It's just not her desire. I would say to manifest meeting the husband and having the house and having the kids, I would suggest and I'd advise that person to work on themselves, however that looks for them. Really understand who they are and do the work on themselves. So if that means having a job where they get to be supportive, like how a mother would be supportive, then I would choose a path that would guide them into honing in those skills, which is to be a full-time mom. Being a full-time mom is like one of the hardest jobs in the world, in my opinion. So I would suggest advising them to find a job in the meantime that allows them to hone in on those skills. They could be a nanny, they could open up their own daycare, they could work in a job where they're kind of like a mother figure. That's how I would advise them to go. And then they could play violin on the side, and they could commit to joining a community orchestra and perform once a month on Sundays. The point is that if you don't want to make money doing your passion, but something else is your desire and dream, you can do both. That's how I'd advise them.
Perfect. I love that.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so next question. So what would you say was your biggest motivation and drive that pushed you towards this idea? I mean, did you have a purpose? Was this always the goal?
No, the goal was to be a dancer. I started dancing at 5. My mom put me in it, and I got really, I would say it was at an advanced level and professional level, and I fell out of love with dancing. It was my dream at one point. So the motivation was to step into my fullest potential after realizing dance was not going to be the dream. So stepping to my fullest potential meant looking at myself as a creative being, which I am, and understanding that I have other talents. And so hosting, literally, it kind of just fell into my lap. I really did. I know that sounds very cliche, but it fell into my lap. And then that became, the motivation became to be successful utilizing my talent.
Okay, so I mean, you spoke earlier about your father being, was it an FBI agent or a CIA agent? FBI. So that kind of goes on to another question that we'd love to ask you. So, I mean, did your family and your circle of influence play an important role within deciding what route you was going to go down?
No, actually, because my dad, originally my goal was to, what I wanted to do, according to what my dad would approve of, was go to UCLA, study whatever I wanted to study, right, undergrad, and then go and get my JD, my law degree, and then go into the CIA. That was what I thought was an approved, quote unquote, career path.
Really?
And yeah, based on my dad's influence. He never told me to do that, but I just knew that he would approve of that. And so that wasn't in alignment with what my passion was, which was to be in the entertainment industry. So in that, my family did not play a role in that, but now they play an integral role in what I do because they're all extremely supportive, and they all are a part of my dream team for sure now.
Brilliant.
That's good, because I think a lot of people with their families maybe don't get that support. Like sometimes I know people that have wanted to do things, but their parents maybe really wanted them only to do maybe, go and get a job, or I've heard a lot of people in America say, live the American dream, get your house, get your mortgage, have kids, get married, have a very, I'd like to say average lifestyle, because sometimes it can be, but sometimes they don't really approve of what you're doing, and they do try and sway you into taking the option that's in their eyes better off or realistic. So I think, what would you say, obviously you had great support from your father and your family. What would you sort of suggest to someone that maybe isn't really getting that support? How should they be dealing with the ones that are closest to them when going through the process of being an entrepreneur?
Well, for starters, I want to say, and this is where I get to cuss, fuck the American dream, because it's not real. It's not real at all. And secondly, with that being said, you create your family. You can meet someone and have a quality connection, and they could end up being your family. So if your immediate blood, quote unquote, family is not supporting you, that's fine. You can still love them from a distance, create healthy boundaries, and create a new family with friends or maybe cousins. Maybe there's family members that exist outside of your immediate family that could become your family in terms of supporting you in your entrepreneur pursuits. So that's how I would respond to that. And that's also what I've created, because my dad does live in Dubai. My mom does live in San Francisco. My brother is between Dubai and Florida. So they're not even immediately here around me anyway. So I get an opportunity to create something locally here in LA, which is what I'm doing now. And it's very integral in terms of having support immediately for my dreams.
That's awesome. No, that's great. I mean, I think in a way we've been quite lucky like that. I mean, I would say we've still got quite a supportive family. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been times, I'm sorry, Mum or Dad, for listening, if you're listening, by the way. But there's been some times where, you know, they don't really understand what you're doing, and they've tried to say, look, you know, you're in a good job. Why do you want to change that? You could earn, you know, a decent amount of money. You could get a decent house. You could have a decent life. But as you say, I think we're on the same wavelength when we say, unless there is a passion there and there's a need to and a want to wake up in the morning and go and do what you do, then for us it's not about that. It's more about going after what you really want to do. So I think some people they're gonna get people that are closest to them that try and sway them off. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care. They're just maybe looking out for you a bit too much. But like you say, you've got to make your own decisions and you can still create the perfect family that you want to create.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you know, family do always come around. Family just want the best for you.
Yeah, of course. I agree 100% with that. And that's what you said is so right on. I definitely believe, like, your family, they're only going by what they know. Our parents have only done what they know. And they're from different generations. They're not from our generation. They didn't have access to the same technology or resources that we had access to. So they're only going by what they know. And so I think it's also important for us to learn how to forgive and accept our parents for who they are, because they love us so much. And their intention is not to sabotage us. Maybe for some, I can't speak for all parents, but for most parents, it is to support you. And so if it may not look the way that you want to look, but as you say, once you become passionate and determined and dedicated to what you're doing, chances are they'll come around. That's usually what happens. And also, when you said the word decent, it struck a chord with me, because this is a generation where decent no longer exists. We don't want decent lives. We want grand lives. And if you want grand lives, you take risks, and that's how you get what you want, not by playing it safe.
No, 100%. You've got to step out of the comfort zone. You've got to work really hard. And, yeah, you've got to prioritise what actually matters.
Absolutely. And go for it. Like, if you died tomorrow, like, would you be happy with what you've created?
It's still in the early stages. But, yeah, I would be happy that we took this opportunity to actually go after what we wanted to create. You know, it's still early stages now, but yeah, no,
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, you know, all the late nights, you're going to complain sometimes, oh my God, I've had not enough sleep, or I'm so tired, you know, it's been hard, I'm exhausted. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything about it. Would you agree?
I wouldn't, no. But I'd just like to remind you, Dionna, that we're actually interviewing you, all right?
Stay on track, Dionna.
But no. I mean, in answer to your question, no. I mean, I think what we're all doing and what we're all trying to achieve is for the greater good. And like you said, we're all trying to live grand lives, and that's what we're really trying to work for. Not just for the money, not just for the fame, not for anything like that. It's genuinely for me, and I know it's the same for Brad. It's more for self-fulfillment, just to feel like I've done something to make a change to the world, a positive change.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And that all starts from within, right? Like, when you take care of yourself and you love yourself and you think and you know that you're important as an individual, then you can actually make the change you want to see in the world. Because going back to balance, if we don't reflect inward first, we can't make the change outward.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And
so that's also very important. And I think also there's a disconnect between, like, our parents' generation and our generation. What do you mean love yourself? Like, you know, they're like so confused by that statement. But it's so important. Like, loving yourself and just being and letting go of the small stuff is a big step towards creating what you want in the world.
It kind of feels like we're living in the 60s again.
Yeah, it's like peace and love, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Totally. It totally is. It's a cycle. It all comes back around.
Definitely. Okay, cool.
So, into the next part of this. I mean, I love where that was going. I could talk
about that all day, to be fair.
I could talk about these sort of passionate side of things so much.
Just gets me pumped.
It does. But we got to get through some questions. So, Next question. What I would say here is now this is sort of basing around the whole investment into your idea, because obviously a lot of our listeners will be startups and aspiring entrepreneurs. They're going to want to know how much time they've got to invest into building their business. So how much time have you invested, or are you investing into building your business in those startup stages?
Every day. I mean, like, even if I take a day off, I would say at least do something daily towards creating the life that I want. And I know this might sound a little bit, well, who cares how it sounds? Even if that means journaling or meditating. Because to me grounding myself every day is a part of creating the dream that I want. So every day I make a conscious decision to do something for myself and for my business. And that can be in the form of journaling or meditating, or even just writing an idea out. If that's my day, quote unquote, day off, I'm doing something every single day. And I would say I work 6-day weeks, to be honest. I don't really give myself 2 days off. I give myself maybe a day off, or like a 3/4 of a day off.
Yeah. I think to be fair, I think that's the most important thing that our listeners can take note of, really, is the fact that sometimes within the world that we live in at the minute, it's very easy to be, to take note that, it's kind of advertised that, that if you start a business and you go down the entrepreneurial journey, that sometimes it may be shorter than what people expect, when in actual sense it isn't. It takes a long time. So, the fact that you said obviously you're investing 6 days a week, maybe 7 days a week, I would probably say, sounded by the personality that you've got, is the fact that, that the fact that you've said that you're investing 6 days a week, people have to be prepared to work that amount to be able to achieve the things they want. Would you agree with that?
In the startup stage, essentially, isn't it?
Absolutely. And also, like I said, let me be clear here. 6 days a week is not sitting at your computer every day for 10 hours. That's not what it is. To me, 6 days a week is going to networking events. It's also sitting at your computer. It's also having meetings. It's also taking care of yourself. It's also getting a massage if you need one. Like, it's all of that. Like, that's an investment in yourself, and an investment in yourself is an investment in your business. Yeah,
definitely. No, I totally agree. And I think even if for those that maybe are questioning now, well, I haven't got all day, I've got a job and I want to try and build this around the side, we can certainly relate and say, what are you doing with your evenings? Because there's a lot of people that get home in the evenings after a long day at work and they think, I'm going to switch on the TV, I'm going to watch a film, or I'm going to watch I don't know, Game of Thrones, whatever's important at the moment.
Game of Thrones is very important. I'm sorry. Game of Thrones is very important. It is a part of my 6-day week. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna get that, but you're a Game of Thrones.
I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. I mean, I absolutely love it.
We could have a whole show on that.
We actually could. To be fair, I think we should start considering creating a podcast just for the Game of Thrones. Just to.
Well, also, you know what, you guys, like, you could actually create, like, you could do a question on your character comparison, because I actually really identify with Daenerys, and I feel like I have a very similar journey as her in my life and also as an entrepreneur. So I actually do think that there's a lot of jewels in that show.
So you're telling me that your dad is a mad king, is that right?
And my dad? No, I wouldn't say my dad's a mad king per se. I would just say I personally identify with Daenerys.
Please do not show your father this episode, please.
Oh my God, I know. I'm like, what? Just kidding.
Brilliant.
But going back to it, I mean, it's important again to have your own time and free time to do what you want. But at the end of the day, I used to watch a lot of TV. I don't watch any TV now, and I can easily say that. I literally, other than maybe going pictures or watching a film when I'm with my girlfriend, literally, I don't watch any TV because we don't really get time. So, you for those that are working, you get in from work and you use that evening. Yes, okay, you might have to give up a few series of Game of Thrones and backdate it, and you can watch the box set in one go if you need to.
Never. You can never have fun.
But you've got to prioritise what actually matters to you most at the time. If you want it that bad,
Absolutely.
You need to put the work in.
Absolutely. Right? And also, you get to schedule these things in. Like, one of the biggest, I would say, invitations or forms of encouragement my life coach gave me when I started going to her 2 years ago. She would tell me multiple sessions, Dionna, are you scheduling self-care time? Dionna, are you scheduling self-care time? Dionna, are you scheduling in self-care time? Like, you get to schedule that in. You get to say, okay, you can still work your 6-day week and you can still schedule in the massage or schedule in Game of Thrones. It's not something where you get to like bring yourself out and then you're like, oh no, I didn't do anything for myself. That's your fault. You get the thing is your responsibility to know when it's time to take a break.
Dionna, we're going to actually jump into the rocket round now. So
Perfect.
This will be the 5 quick questions to make you think on your feet and let our listeners learn a bit more about what you use in your daily life as an entrepreneur. So Greg, I think, is going to start that one off.
Brilliant. Okay, so Dionna, are you ready for your first question of the rocket round?
I'm ready.
For you, is it book, ebook, or audiobook? And which one of them in particular? And what are the reasons why?
Book, because I can write in it, I can touch it, I can feel it, and I can have the full experience.
Brilliant.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so is there a particular app, mobile app, that you are using right now? It can be anything that helps you.
I would say it's not an app, but it's the reminders. I guess it is an app. Reminders on my iPhone. I color code different sections: personal, spiritual, professional, and I set reminders for myself every single day, and it's extremely helpful.
Same. I love that. Brilliant. Okay, so what is your best piece of advice for a startup right now within your niche?
Identify what you want specifically, create a plan, and work the plan instead of the plan working you. Take risks every day, and do not stop going.
Brilliant.
Love that. So if you could now go back to being 21, what would you say to yourself? I don't know how far back that is, but
I would say,
you still look 21.
to myself, yeah, I know, I'm actually 27, but yeah, okay, 21. I would say you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are amazing, you can do whatever you set your mind to. Let go of all this shit stopping you. Forgive your dad and go right now. What are you waiting for?
Brilliant. And following on from that, who is your biggest entrepreneurial idol?
I have 2. Oprah is my entertainment entrepreneur idol, and I would say Jessica Alba is another entrepreneur who is my idol.
I want to actually follow on from that. That's actually quite nice to hear 2 completely different types than what, the cliche ones that you usually hear. Oprah obviously is a great one because it's in your sort of sector that you're in. But Jessica Alba, I want to talk a bit more about that because she is doing great things at the moment.
She is.
The honest business in particular.
I actually wanted to talk about that too, so it's perfect that you brought that up because I manifested that. I pulled up an article before the interview because I specifically wanted to point out a couple of things. Jessica Alba is worth as much as she's worth, partly because of her entrepreneur pursuits outside of the entertainment industry. She managed to help build a company that's worth $1 billion very quickly, and she owns about 20% of that. So she, just off that one venture alone, was able to gather, $200 million in her revenue because of her dedication and commitment to something that many people probably told her not to do because that wasn't her niche and that wasn't what she had already made money doing. But yet I would argue she probably made more money the fastest doing honest than she did as an actor.
That's amazing. Well, I suppose in a way, in part, that's where a lot of people that don't really sit in the entrepreneurial sector and not really interested in following that type of information only know her from the films. And I've spoken to a lot of people before who don't really follow the entrepreneurial path of things and reading about it. And they've said, yeah, she's a great person, but how has she earned that much money? She's not even been in that many films or that many big hitters. But obviously what they're not seeing is what is, like you said, what she's actually doing with this company that is absolutely amazing. And I didn't know that. That's 20% of that.
That's
well,
brilliant.
right, but here's the thing. I would invite you guys all now, since we are sharing resources, to go on Forbes. The article is called "How Jessica Alba Built a $1 billion Company and 200 Million Fortune, Selling Parents Peace of Mind." this article actually lays out her journey. She started the concept years ago. I think the concept came up in like 2008. She put it aside because of her acting career, and she picked it back up. So it wasn't something that happened overnight. She's been building the company for a while. She's also married to Warren Cash, who's a huge entrepreneur, very successful. So she also had, again, we talked about earlier, a team and a support system that were already in that world. So it wasn't completely like weird or like disconnected that she decided to pursue something outside the entertainment industry, which is also, again, a stereotype and an assumption because she's pretty and she's an actress that she's not intelligent and that she doesn't know what she's doing. It's quite the opposite. And that's also why I look up to her, because she makes money doing multiple things. The average entrepreneur has 7 forms of income, 7 different forms of income coming in.
I've heard that before, actually, yeah. And it's true. I think the best part as well about an entrepreneur is that they are really creative people and they're willing to take risks. They're willing to try new things. And I suppose that is in a sense where it comes from. But I'll definitely check that article out. And you'll have to...
Yeah, we'll stick that in the show notes as well for any of our listeners.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we will now go into part 2 of the questions, and these types of questions will be about the tools and techniques which currently work for you, which might help our listeners. So I think Brad's going to hit us off with the first question.
Right, yeah. Dionna, so given the majority of people are online now, would you consider a website a necessity to starting a business, whether it's digital, traditional, whether you're a local business? Would you say that it's very important to get yourself a website up and running?
Yes. I would say, for example, if you're a nanny, I wouldn't be jumping to build a website on Wix overnight to start your business. But in most cases, 90% of the time, I would say a website is absolutely necessary very early on in the startup phases.
Why do you think that? Would you say because, you know, everyone's on their phones now and a lot more people, they can't be bothered to find out information other than using the internet to find it out? Everyone Googles everything, right?
Absolutely. Unless you're specifically like a YouTuber. Like YouTubers, I would even argue, could afford not to have a website. I mean, obviously most of them do, like successful, like famous ones, but YouTube is its own platform. So like if you were specifically trying to be a YouTuber, I would say start building content right away, right? Over like go build a website. But in most cases, the website is the quickest way to see what you're about, who you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and do I want to be a part of it? And if you don't have a website, like, how am I going to know that? You can sit here and tell me on the phone, but like, I'm not really going to be enrolled in what you're doing until I see something that represents what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's probably the key part I just took away from what you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone wants to see something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the storefront, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is your storefront. It is your storefront. It's your business card. It's your brand, and it's the essence of who you are and what you're doing.
Brilliant. Okay, so this kind of goes on to the next question. Which online tools are you using at the minute on a day-to-day basis to get your job done? I
have a Mac. I'm a big Apple girl, but I actually completely am invested in Gmail and Google products. So Google Drive, I use the note section on Google. I use tasks. I label folders. I use Gmail for everything. I use it for scheduling. I use that in conjunction with Apple products as well. So I would say Google Drive, definitely, like every day.
It's a huge platform, isn't it? It's absolutely it's so powerful. The things that you can do, it's amazing.
Yeah, I recommend everyone gets on Google Drive, Google Apps generally.
Yeah, because we use Google Apps for business, and the package that you get is pretty much everything. You know, you get drive storage as well, I believe, which is like 30 gigs worth of storage, and that's currently where we hold most of our stuff. So, you know, if people are struggling with where to kind of put their files on for their businesses, Google 100%.
Yep, I agree. It's the best platform for a startup that's either, depending on which plan you pick, either free or very affordable.
Yes.
So definitely. Long USBs, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No longer, Bye, USB. See you later.
Nobody's got time for that. Cool. So following that then, obviously what you're doing, the whole getting into the entertainment and lifestyle section, would you say that social media plays a big part? And if so, which social media is your sort of preference in your business?
Instagram is the number one platform for me.
That's how we got in contact with you, isn't it?
Yeah, Instagram, totally. I'm definitely not where I want to be numbers wise, and I am actually, unfortunately, I did not meet my goal recently because of some of the other work I've been doing. But even with that being said, it's like even when you start getting closer to 10K and above, like that's really the way to start conjuring up business. Like if you want to make money on Instagram, for people to find out who you are, like the more you can build your following, the easier it's going to be to get new business and to make connections.
So how much time would you recommend to a startup that uses social media? So for example, Instagram, how much time would they need to invest within that platform to be able to start building an audience? Would you recommend?
If you choose Instagram as your number one platform, you need to be on it every day or 6 days a week. And if you really want to succeed on Instagram quickly, you would need to be posting anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day. Definitely.
Great. I think we can definitely agree on that one, because we obviously invested into Instagram. I mean, like the point of these questions, we're learning as well from it, and we do agree with the fact that you should not spread yourself too thin. Try and pick a particular platform to maybe start with, and really try and master it. So Instagram, we decided to invest heavily into it. We're currently on 13,700 followers. We gained that in about 3 to 4 months, and like you said, we are posting between 3 to 5. Sometimes even I think we've even posted about 11 times a day. I mean, it's crazy, but it has been effective. And like you said, you need to be posting frequently. You need to be engaging, and yeah, I think Instagram for your sector is probably a great one, actually.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so one question that I'd love to ask you, just to hear your thoughts on, basically, do you use outsourcing, and would you consider outsourcing, essential for startups where necessary?
It depends on the business.
Do you use outsourcing?
No, not really. I mean, I would say I use the word support because a lot of what I do right now requires connections. And that's not necessarily something I'm paying for, right? I'm just enrolling people in my vision, and then they support me for free. If that makes sense. So I would say as long as you can get support for free or for very little, that's what you should do until you're in a position where you have the capital to pay someone to assist you. But even then, I'm all about being frugal, right? Like people who we look up to also have money because they made smart choices with money. And so the money grew. If you just start outsourcing every single thing you can, even when you do have the money, I think you're setting yourself up to fail. So it's important to see how you can...
Yeah, because you're not actually learning anything really, are you? You're just constantly outsourcing.
You're not learning anything. Absolutely. The best way to be in control of what you're doing is to know how to do every single thing. And then once it becomes... Obviously, at some point, when you do have the capital, you can outsource once you already know what's going on. But I would keep that to a minimum in the startup phase so you can really understand what it is you're building and how it's being built. I think that's a really important part of the journey.
Good. And I think to add to that as well, there's a lot of people that are bootstrapping it out there. They haven't really got the cash to just throw around. And I know we've obviously started the same way. We pushed ourselves to have to learn things we didn't know about because we physically couldn't afford to lose even, part of that capital. We've thrown out a lot of money on resources and services that wasn't giving us the returns. So we had to sit down and actually cut down on that and just think, what, fuck it, we're just going to have to learn and really bootstrap this. And it probably has helped us in a way, hasn't it, Greg? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, 100%. Cool. It's allowed us to, learn so much more. Yeah, I think that's what goes back to what you said, Dionna. That the more you learn, I think
right, absolutely.
As cliche as it sounds, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Well, absolutely. And also, you leave room to fuck up. You know what I mean? And, learn from your failure. And also, it gives you confidence. When you do find the method that works for you, isn't it amazing to feel like you accomplished something and you learned something you didn't know 6 months ago? I mean, I think it definitely builds confidence.
100%. I could not agree more.
Definitely. I think there's one bonus question just before the final question, which Greg's going to ask you. And there's one question that I feel might be suitable for this episode, and this is one of the bonus questions that we usually do. And that is, obviously, there's a lot of unicorn startups out there, like the likes of Snapchat, Uber, all these billion-dollar companies in today's world. Do you think that in this sort of niche you're in, it can be done? I mean, I know it's in a way been proven with the likes of Oprah, but do you think that there is still room for people to create billion-dollar startups from this sort of niche that you're in?
With what I'm doing, that's a tough question, because TV is not what it used to be, and the money isn't what it used to be. I mean, that's honest. That's just an honest assessment of where the industry has gone. I think realistically to build...
Would you say that it was saturated then?
It's oversaturated, absolutely. For me, I'm like 100% confident that my road to making millions and billions is... Well, I'm going to start with millions. My road to making millions is going to definitely come from a few different sources. And plus that's just what I want. I want to learn as much as possible. And I want to have my hand in different things in a very focused, strategic, methodical manner. And so I think anything's possible. So absolutely, to answer your question, yes, it's possible. Is it as easy as it was before? I don't think so. It's changed with the rise of digital media. It's just not, like, there's not as much money in TV anymore and film. That's just what it is, unless you're already an established A-list actor. So with that being said, I do think you get an opportunity to be extremely creative and extremely strategic in how you create that for yourself.
Love that, yeah. Because I think a lot of people have been talking about the whole, radios are slowly dying out and podcasts are going to be coming through, especially with the whole sort of Tesla motors coming out and the options that they have available in the car. They're saying that podcasts are going to become really popular and sort of dominate that field.
Right.
So, with the whole... A lot more people are watching things online now as opposed to TV. I suppose that in a way is why Ellen has her own, Ellen DeGeneres has her own, I think it's Ellen Tube or whatever it is. She's got her own, pretty much the same as her show, but it's online, like a YouTube platform.
Absolutely. And if you don't adjust to what's happening, you fall behind and you sacrifice yourself and your dream.
I agree. Well, I'm glad, to be honest, an honest answer is better, because a lot of people may get their hopes up about things and think, I'm going to go into this field, I'm going to become, the next Oprah. And as much as you're on a journey of becoming that, and you still have the potential, everyone does, it's about having still in part a little bit of realism there as to just maybe managing your goals closer to home and taking them one step at a time.
Right, one step at a time, and also being open. I think one thing I'm learning that keeps coming up for me every day, especially recently, in like some of the deeper like self-work that I'm doing, is that I'm very personally attached to the way things need to look. And I feel like that is definitely not something that is going to lead to my success. It's important to be open when you're doing this stuff. You can't just be like, this is how it's got to be, and this is what I'm going to do to get it that way. Like, you're going to sabotage your career and your life if you look at it like that. It's important to be focused on what you're doing and have a plan. It's also equally important to be open to the ways in which it unfolds.
Great, thank you. Okay, so if somebody wants to start out within your targeted niche, what should they be doing other than being honest and open and dedicated? Any other sort of tips or motivation, advice that you can give? Yeah,
absolutely. So in any industry, especially the entertainment industry, I don't think this will ever change. It's who you know that likes you. That's how you get breaks in Hollywood. Who you know that likes you. Who you know that stands for you, that sees your vision. That is a huge part of making it here. And getting a random opportunity that you didn't have 6 months ago that can completely change your life. And that can open up doors to start a business and to start a clothing line and to start and invent this thing and get capital to get it started and do what some of these people in the entertainment industry are doing and dabble in other industries, right? So understanding that networking and connections are vital in any business, but especially in the entertainment industry, knowing that it is basically currency. Connections are currency in this industry, and I don't think that will ever change.
Brilliant. I think that is an amazing bit of advice that you can give. Thank you very much. So thank you so much, Dionna, for answering those questions as honest and quickly and
valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you've provided so much value within answering those questions that I genuinely do think our listeners are going to come away hugely inspired, just like us. So Thank you so much.
I think I'm going to go and start in the entertainment field, to be honest, Greg.
Yeah, I'm going to go up the BBC tomorrow and see if I can get a job.
I actually do have some connections over there if you're serious about that.
Brilliant. Why not?
Great. Cool.
Well, it's been amazing, and I look forward to, like, maybe we can schedule another call or and chat more about how we can work together as well, because I definitely don't believe in coincidences. So
Definitely. But I mean, before we say our goodbyes, would you please just mind talking to us about, you know, what you're currently doing at the minute, just so that our listeners can follow you and gain motivation and, you know, see what you're doing and see you as a role model, if that's okay, just so that our listeners can.
Yeah, and what's coming? Yeah. What the current plan is.
Tell us more about you.
right now I am working on a pilot for my own show that I get to be the host of. I am taking my career into my own hands instead of waiting for it to happen for me or waiting for someone to do it for me. It's very common to get into the back seat or even the passenger seat when you're in the entertainment industry because of the nature of the way it's set up. So you have an agent who gets you auditions and you're waiting for an audition. So this is the age of do-it-yourself. So it even applies to this very old school format as well. And that's why I've made a decision to take matters into my own hands. In addition to going out for auditions and doing that as well, I believe you have to play all games, but I get to play my own game in addition to doing all the other traditional things that you do in Hollywood. So I am doing my own pilot. I will be doing that. My deadline for that is actually mid-August, so I'll be doing that. And then I will start to pitch that to networks and also online networks and opportunities as well. I also have a relationship with the American Heart Association as a spokesperson, a national spokesperson. So I will be traveling around the country. It's my second year doing this. And I actually get an opportunity to teach people around the U.S. how to save a life using hands-only CPR. So I get to do that as well. And that's coming up, August, September. So I'm really excited about that. And it's a partnership that I have that I value very much so. And I am also I'm in a commercial right now for USAA, which is a huge American car insurance company. And yeah, so I'm doing kind of a few different things, and I get to go after my dreams every single day. So that's a couple of things I'm doing. And then, of course, my blog is called Dream Series TV, and that is something that I personally do every month. I have 2-part series, a part 1 and a part 2, and it's about a theme that resonates with me based on what's going on in my life. It's basically a blog for entrepreneurs, for freelancers, for anyone who works for themselves or someone who desires to work for themselves. It's called Dream Series TV. You can find me on Instagram at Dream Series TV. You can also find me on Facebook, and that's /The Dream Series TV on Facebook. Those are my primary outlets. And then, of course, if you go to my website, everything about me, what I'm doing is on there, including my blog post, which is DionnaChambers.com. That's DIONNACHAM as in Mary, B as in boy, ERS. DionnaChambers.com is the mecca for all things going on in my life.
Perfect. I mean, I was literally just going to ask how our listeners can contact you. You've summed it up brilliantly there. We'll put all the links to all the listeners. We'll put all the links in the show notes so you can easily jump straight over. And I can assure you now, I'm looking at Dionna Chambers' website right now. And like she said, there is a widespread about her and her life, and really to get involved with the whole Dream series of it on the website. So head on over there, check it out. You'll be thoroughly impressed, as we are. And it's been awesome having you on the show, Dionna.
Thank you so much. It's been hugely inspirational, massively motivational, and I mean, I'm going to go away absolutely buzzing off of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to connecting with you guys in the future.
All I can say is, wow, Dionna has been an amazing guest. Not only has she provided a ton of value for all of our listeners, she's also helped us, and I'm sure she's also helped our listeners with the motivation to gain traction within their businesses. Now, before we leave, we want to just throw out one more thing, and that is to remind all of our listeners that we are currently holding a competition. That competition is we're giving away 1 year's free subscription to LivePlan, 5 free entrepreneurial books, and a branded Stage 1 Startup t-shirt with the winner's name on it. Pretty cool. So Brad, do you want to tell the listeners how they can get their hands on these amazing prizes?
So guys, all you need to do is subscribe to the podcast by clicking the subscribe button above, rate the show and leave us a nice review. Then next step is to post a selfie on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook of you holding a piece of paper which says done, hashtag give me S1S, 1 being the number 1, and then make sure you tag us in the pictures. Guys, it's important that you do this so we can make sure that we count every one of you in it and make sure it's all in time for when we release the winner of the competition. So make sure you do that to go and get your free gifts.
And it's literally that simple. So guys, again, thank you for tuning in to episode 3. Episode 4 is going to be just as awesome as what this episode is going to be, and we will see you on the other side. See you later, everyone.
Bye for now, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Stage 1 Startup Podcast. If you're looking to launch your own business idea, visit stage1startup.com for recommended resources and step-by-step guidance to help you succeed. Prepare for takeoff.